110 miles north of the Scottish mainland, where the North Sea meets the Atlantic Ocean, are a group of islands at constant mercy to the wind and sea, home to ancient Viking forts and mysterious standing stones. With dramatic rock cliffs, attractive sandy beaches, and a thriving wildlife population attracting thousands of nature enthusiasts each year, these islands are called the Shetlands. Shetland, the third largest Scottish island whose landscape was shaped over millions of years by rain, wind, ice and waves. Vast amounts of water were locked up in ice caps, making the sea level much lower during glacial periods. As the sea rose again at the end of the last glaciation 10,000 years ago, the waters rose to form many of Shetland's well-known vaux. This weathering created soils that have influenced Shetland's current biodiversity, human settlement and agricultural practices. Today the rocks of Shetland provide the islands with building materials, minerals, oil and gas. Since the beginning, Shetland's history has been rich, spanning from the Vikings who came with their mighty boats, bringing a new style of building and language, to the castles where rich lairds and noblemen used to live, all of which have left their mark on these northern Isles. Wildlife was greatly affected by the arrival of man. As there are no native land mammals in Shetland, the sheep, rabbits and the characteristic Shetland ponies that are seen roaming the fields were once introduced to the Isles by early settlers. Even the wild otter is believed to have been brought over for its once valued meat and fur. This means that Scottish wildlife sites such as red deer silhouetted on the horizon, or a white-tailed seagull diving into the water and catching a fish are sadly not seen in these islands. The familiar rivers and forests of Scotland flourish due to the hospitable climate and environment. A large array of wildlife rely on the food and shelter of the lush vegetation that mainland Scotland provides, as opposed to the cold and windy moorlands of Shetland, where trees and wood are scarce. Shetland may appear barren and inhospitable, but for a few months each year, its cliffs are full of life and sounds. Over 1 million seabirds return to Shetland to breed, due to the long hours of sunshine and a rich supply of nutrients from the sea, making the islands an excellent environment for the birds and their chicks. At the southernmost tip of the Shetland mainland sits Sombra Head, its peak adorned by an iconic lighthouse. The area is now a prominent tourist attraction because of the accessibility to the tall cliffs, which are an important location for many migratory seabirds, which use them as ready-made cities. Perhaps the most well-known of these is the Atlantic puffin. They arrive each April, leaving again in August, using their claws to dig burrows in the loose soil on top of the cliffs, in which it raises its young. 1/5 of the puffin population breed in Shetland, making Sombra Head one of the best places to see them in their natural habitat. The bright yellow and metallic grey colouring on their beaks is shed each year in winter, making way for their usual light grey beaks and regrown in spring. Puffins share the cliffs with many other seabirds and rabbits. Fulmars can be distinguished from the gulls by the tubes on top of their beaks, which are salt glands that allow them to rid their bodies of excess salt. Fulmar parents need to leave their single chick by itself when out fishing for food. During this time, the chick is not defenceless, protected by the very cliffs it sits on. Out here, however, even adult fulmars are at risk. There are pirates in these waters. Arctic skuas are deceptively maneuverable and aggressive. They strike other birds in mid-air, forcing their victims to drop their latest meal. Here, we can see an Arctic tern intervening in a squabble between an Arctic skua and a seagull. Arctic terns are extraordinary migratory birds, which undergo the longest migration in the animal kingdom, averaging at around 45,000 miles every year. With a lifespan of 30 years, an Arctic tern can travel up to 1.5 million miles in its life. Ground nesting birds like Arctic terns are dependent on the vast quantity of moorland Shetland has to offer. The moorland here is comprised of several layers of peat. The cool and damp climate favours peat formation, representing thousands of years of compressed dead plant material. This peat is often dug out of the ground and cut into brick-like shapes to be used as fuel. In Shetland, for example, where trees and wood are scarce, peat is traditionally used for cooking and domestic heating. In these moorlands, heather and bog cotton dominate the landscape. Shetland is home to a large number of different plant habitats, some of which offer superb floral displays. Some habitats are covered in plant life as a direct result of the traditional crofting practices. Due to Shetland's northerly location, isolated nature and extreme climate, there are only as little as 400 species, ranging from eyebright to the common bog thistle. These plants stay hydrated by the various streams that flow through the moorlands, often leading to lochs or the ocean. Seen here are the mudflats at the Pool of Verkey, just north of Sunborough Airport. When the tide goes out, curlews, sandpipers and many other birds come to feed on the now exposed invertebrates and crustaceans such as crabs and lugworms. Whereas the beautiful beaches of Shetland are visited by many tourists and locals alike each summer. Further north you can find a tombolo connecting St Ninian's Isle to the mainland, famed for being the longest found anywhere in the British Isles. These sandy shores are a visitor's easiest route to the surrounding rich and productive seas, which provide food for a larger variety of sea mammals, and have been used as a safe haven for launching small boats for as long as man has been here. More than a degree of good fortune is necessary to see dolphins and whales. Here you can see a family of orcas swimming along the base of the cliffs trying to drive out seals. A familiar sight on the Shetland coast are seals, both common and grey. Common seals have a wide pronounced dog-like snout, whereas the grey seal has a more Roman nose and sloping forehead. The common seal can reach almost 2 meters in length and can often be seen hauling alongside each other on sandy beaches. Whilst they are graceful in water, their thick coat of blubber makes them more cumbersome on land. Due to their curious nature and the fact that they prey chiefly on fish, they may on occasion be seen playing with their food. The seashore is also home to other more reclusive creatures. A patient observer might be lucky enough to catch a glimpse of the otter. More often than not, one is likely to see an otter near a source or fresh water, as they use this to wash the sea salt out of their fur. Much like their far distant cousin, the even more elusive pine marten. The pine marten will look for food up and down the rivers of mainland Scotland, and will retreat up to the wooded areas to finish its meals. However, the Shetland otters have adapted not to rely on trees in a similar fashion. Otter holes can either be found dug into riverbanks amongst the rocky shorelines. Although Shetland is well known for its headlands and dramatic sea cliffs, it does not have any inland cliffs overlooking large areas of its landscape. Predatory birds on mainland Scotland would use these as nest locations, allowing them to be able to search for prey whilst on or near the nest. All the cliffs in Shetland overlook the surrounding seas. Birds ranging from the common buzzards to the iconic eagle are therefore sadly never seen soaring over Shetland's cliffs or higher grounds. Ronas Hill is Shetland's highest peak, a hill comprised mainly of granite rock created when molten magma melted during the continental collision, forcing its way upwards. Home of a Neolithic chambered cairn, renowned for its unusual position on top of the hill. Most Neolithic chambered cairns are sited in prominent locations, but rarely on top of hills. Another highly notable archaeological excavation is the multi-periodic site of Jarlshof. Located near Sunborough Head on the southern tip of Shetland mainland, it contains the largest visible Viking ruins in the British Isles, making it one of the most remarkable archaeological sites ever excavated. It contains remains ranging as far back as 2500 BC up to the 17th century. In the Bronze Age ruins, settlers left evidence of small oval houses with thick stone walls. Some of the island's most spectacular historical sites are the Brocks. There are around 80 visible Iron Age Brocks towering above the coast of Shetland. It is believed that the purpose of these ancient structures was to act as watchtowers to guard the shores of the islands. Within the building, it is speculated that there were several wooden floors and a fair amount of people could have lived in them. The outer areas of the Brock would have more often than not been enclosed during in times of danger and may have been surrounded by small houses in times of peace. Every year, a wildlife spectacle is acted out at the most northerly point of the British Isles. Hermanus National Nature Reserve on Unst is a place of bird cries and continuous aerial acrobatics, whilst thousands of gannets squabble over the territories of the white-stained cliffs. The cliffs were once part of an ancient volcano that was carved away by the ocean, exposing layer upon layer of solidified lava and ash. Whilst Hermanus is home to the third largest colony of great skuas, what most people come to see are the 30,000 breeding pairs of northern gannets, known locally as solan geese. Gannets have a wingspan of up to 6 feet, making it the largest seabird in the northern Atlantic. Evolution has provided the gannet with a strengthened skull and the ability to seal its nostrils to withstand the surface impact when diving. They can dive into the sea from a height of up to 30 metres, reaching speeds of up to 100 kilometres per hour. 40% of the gannet population nest in Scotland, making Hermanus a very important breeding ground for the species. At the tip of the headland lie a series of rocks, Mockleflugga with its lighthouse, and the Outstack, the UK's most northerly point, the end of the Shetland Isles, and our journey.